Now, all the people that were listening at this point would have been thinking about what had taken place, and every single one of them would have been irate at the idea that these people would have had the nerve to step into that landlord's field with an agreement already, and they would go back on the deal, and then they would kill his son. Now, there was no question about the fact that when he sent his son, this would have been his firstborn, the one who was the heir. All right? The first fruits, the son that would have been dedicated to the Lord. And he asked them, he said, well, what do you think that the owner will do? He said, well, there's no question. He's going to wipe them all out. Those wretched people deserve a wretched end, and that's what they're going to get. Jesus basically agrees. He says, you're right. In fact, he's going to take it away from those who were the tenants. Oh, and by the way, you're the tenants. And he's going to give it to somebody else. And in that grammar that was used in the Greek, the reference is a direct reference to the fact that the vineyard would be left to the Gentiles. So you can imagine what the Jewish leadership would have been thinking at this point. Wait a minute. The Gentiles, we're the chosen people. We're the ones who are supposed to inherit the vineyard. Jesus says, well, you have every intention of killing the son. Yeah, that must have really stung when they heard that. And they really wanted to do away with him. And weren't they fulfilling exactly what he had just said in that parable? But think about all the characters in that parable, because I think that's important for us to understand. Okay? You've got the vineyard owner, the landowner, that's God. The tenants, those would have been the Jewish people, his chosen people, those who he chose to oversee his vineyard. Now, the vineyard is what? His creation. This earth, this place. And he sent servants. Now, the servants were the prophets that he had sent, and eventually John the Baptist. And then eventually, after they had done away with all of those, he sends his son, Jesus, to go back and try and collect what was rightfully his. And they take his son, and they kill him, thinking that they're going to keep what wasn't theirs to begin with. Well, there's some very interesting lessons in that, because Jesus doesn't stop there. He says, oh, don't worry. The landowner is going to return. No matter what you've done, he will return, and he will collect what is rightfully his. And for those whom tried to take what was not rightfully theirs, they will get their comeuppance. They will get their just dessert. They will not succeed. Well, it's interesting, because now then this parable tells us some lessons that I think are important for us to look back on and reflect and remember. One, the landowner, God, first of all, he takes this creation, and he has a tremendous amount of trust, because he brings it down to those whom he created. And he says, I'm going to place you here, and I want you to take care of this. And I want you to make sure that you manage it well, and I want you to grow a crop that will bring a bumper crop harvest for me, because I want to come back and collect what's rightfully mine. Now, yes, he wants them to do that with the land, okay? But this isn't a parable just about the land. It's a parable about what people are doing with people. I think that's a very, very important thing for us to understand when we read this parable. It says to the Jewish people, what have you done? What have you done with the land contract I gave you? The covenant that I made with your forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I told him that I would bless him, and through him all of you would be blessed. And you weren't supposed to stop there. You were supposed to go on with the rest of the covenant and be a blessing to all the rest of the world and lead them to know me so that I could gather them in. They would be part of my harvest. And if you drop the ball on that one, and if you think that it's only meant for you to be blessed, then you have sorely missed the point. And judgment will come. I am going to return, and I expect to be able to collect. God took all of that, and He trusted. He trusted human beings, placed it in our hands. It's a tremendous amount of trust. And you know what else He has? A tremendous amount of patience. And He doesn't micromanage when He places that kind of trust in our hands. He doesn't stand and look over our shoulder and say, no, you're not doing that right. Stop. You need to back up and go this way. No, come over here. I want you to go this way. There's only one way for you to do this. He doesn't say that. In fact, He gives us almost carte blanche freedom to figure out different ways of participating in His plan and helping to lead people to know that He is God and to help them to know Jesus Christ, so that when God returns, when Christ comes again, He will have a bumper crop. And notice that when He returns, it means God has a tremendous amount of patience. He's giving us time, and He gives us multiple chances. Time after time after time, God sent one servant, and then another, and then another, and then another, and then John the Baptist, and finally His Son. A tremendous amount of patience He has for you and I, as well as He did for the Jewish leadership at that time. You know, Jesus didn't give this rebuke in a story form just to be mean to the Jewish leadership and to push them away. No, it was a rebuke not unlike for any one of us when we were children. If we did something wrong or we did something bad and our parents needed to correct us and help us understand that's not the right way to go, we may have gotten a smack on the behind, or we may have been grounded, or something may have been taken away. Because why? Because that smarts. That turns our head. It gets our attention. It makes us realize something's got to change here. And that's what Jesus wanted for the Jewish people. He didn't want them just to be punished and never to have another option. No, He wanted them to hear what He was saying, because He wanted them to be a part of that harvest that when He comes back and collects, they also will be able to enjoy what God has planned for the celebration of what He's going to do with everything He collects in this vineyard. Don't forget, when the Jewish people would harvest, there was always a harvest celebration. God has a huge one planned for all of those who follow Him, for all of those who keep His commands, His decrees, who have repented and received Jesus Christ and seek to be obedient